The vastness of space stretched endlessly before the Imperial flagship, Crown of Stars. Commander Gray stood on his pristine bridge, his perfectly pressed uniform reflecting the status screen's soft glow. His mandibles clicked with satisfaction as he observed the three unknown vessels that had wandered into Imperial space. "Status report," he ordered, his voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of Imperial tradition. "My commander, the vessels appear to be of unknown origin. They don't match any known signatures in our database," reported First Officer Wilson. "They're responding to our hails." Gray straightened his posture. First contact was a rare honor, one that would surely earn him another medal to add to his collection. After all, every civilization they had encountered had eventually bowed to the Empire's superior might. "Open communications," he commanded. The massive view screen flickered to life, revealing the human face. The alien appeared oddly similar to the Empire's own form, save for their lack of mandibles and their peculiarly round eyes. "This is Admiral Stone of the Human Exploration Fleet," the figure announced calmly. "We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations." Commander Gray's mandibles twitched in amusement. These primitives didn't even know proper protocol. "Unknown vessels, you have entered the territory of the Galactic Empire, the most advanced civilization in known space. Surrender your ships immediately and prepare to be integrated into our superior culture." There was a moment of silence on the communication channel. Then, something unexpected happened. It started as a small chuckle, grew into a hearty laugh, and soon transformed into full-blown laughter that echoed across the communication channels. "I'm sorry." Admiral Stone wiped a tear from his eye. "But did you just ask us to surrender?" That's actually pretty funny." Gray's antenna bristled with indignation. "You dare mock the mighty Galactic Empire? We have ruled the stars for 10,000 years. Our technology is beyond your comprehension." 10,000 years. Another voice joined in from one of the other human ships. "Oh, that's adorable. Captain Rogers here, Admiral. Should I tell them about our mining colonies in the Andromeda Galaxy, or would that be showing off?" Gray's second-in-command frantically whispered in his ear, "Sir, our sensors are having trouble scanning their ships. The readings, they're off the charts." "Impossible," Gray hissed. "Launch a warning shot. Show these primitives the power of our newest particle beam technology." The Crown of Stars' main weapon charged up, its green energy building to a crescendo before releasing a powerful burst toward the smallest human vessel. The beam, capable of crippling most ships, splashed harmlessly against an invisible barrier. "Oh." Admiral Stone perked up. "Was that weapons fire? Hold on, let me check with our engineering team." He pressed a button off-screen. Did anyone notice anything hitting our shields?" A distant voice responded. "Sorry, Admiral, we were calibrating the coffee machine." "Did something happen?" The bridge of the Crown of Stars fell into stunned silence. Gray's mandibles hung open in shock. His entire career, his understanding of the universe, began to crumble before him. "Look," Admiral Stone said kindly, "we really do come in peace. How about we start over? We'd be happy to share some of our technology, establish trade relations, and welcome you into the greater galactic community. We've got some excellent coffee, and our chef makes amazing chocolate chip cookies." Gray stared at his sensor readings, then at the human ships, then back at his crew. For the first time in his distinguished career, he found himself completely at a loss for words. I will need to consult with Imperial High Command," he managed to stammer. "Take your time," Admiral Stone smiled warmly. "We'll be here. And seriously, consider the cookie offer. They're really good." As the communication channel closed, the last thing the Imperial crew heard was another burst of good-natured laughter from the human ships. Gray slumped in his command chair, suddenly feeling very small in a much larger universe than he had imagined. Commander Gray paced nervously on his bridge while awaiting instructions from Imperial High Command. His crew kept stealing glances at the massive human vessels floating serenely outside their viewports. The Crown of Stars, once the pride of the Imperial fleet at 2 kilometers in length, now seemed like a toy boat next to an ocean liner. "Sir," First Officer Wilson interrupted his pacing. "High Command is responding." The Imperial seal appeared on the main screen, replaced by the stern face of High Admiral Ross. His golden mandibles gleamed under the official lighting. "Commander Gray," Ross spoke slowly, "you will demonstrate the full might of our fleet. I am sending 5 additional battleships to your location. Show these humans the true power of the Empire." "But sir," Gray started to protest. "That's an order, Commander." The transmission cut off abruptly. Gray looked helplessly at his tactical display as 5 more Imperial ships emerged from hyperspace, taking formation around the Crown of Stars. "The humans are hailing us again," Wilson reported. Admiral Stone's friendly face appeared on screen. "Hello again. I see you've brought some friends to the party. I hope those are dinner guests. Our chef just finished baking a fresh batch of cookies." Gray tried to summon his most authoritative voice. "By order of Imperial High Command, you will witness the true might of our civilization." He gestured dramatically. "Behold, 6 of our most powerful battleships, each 2 kilometers in length. Surely now you understand the futility of resistance." There was a pause before Admiral Stone responded. "Oh, you were serious about the size comparison. Here, let me help with that." He pressed a few buttons on his console. "Jenkins, could you back our ships up a bit? The Empire wants to do a size comparison." The 3 human vessels slowly moved backward. As they did, more and more of their true scale became apparent. What the Imperial sensors had initially detected was just the forward section of their ships. The human vessels kept backing up, revealing their full length, a staggering 15 kilometers from bow to stern. "Sweet Mother of Stars," someone on Gray's bridge whispered. "These are just standard exploration vessels," Admiral Stone explained cheerfully. "Nothing fancy. Though I should mention that Captain Rogers' ship has the new recreation deck with the water park. We're all a bit jealous of that." "A water park?" Gray asked weakly. "Oh yes, you should see it. The artificial gravity makes the water slides amazing. Would you like a tour? We'd love to show you around." Before Gray could respond, one of his newly arrived support ships fired its main weapons. Multiple energy beams struck the human vessels. "Captain Miller here," a new voice joined the channel. "Sorry to interrupt, but someone just hit our ship. We had to divert power from the movie theater shields." The kids watching Finding Nemo were not happy about the pause in their show. Admiral Stone sighed. "You have a movie theater on your ship?" Gray asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Well, of course. Can't expect the families to go without entertainment on long voyages. We're not savages," Stone replied with a grin. "Though I should mention, firing on our ships, especially when there are children aboard watching movies, isn't very neighborly." The Imperial crews watched in horror as small panels opened along the sides of the human vessels. Hundreds of point defense turrets, each larger than the Empire's main weapons, swiveled to track their ships. Now, Stone's voice became slightly more serious. "We really do prefer peaceful contact. But if you'd rather compare military capability, we can do that too. Though I warn you, the last civilization that tried that ended up really embarrassed at the next Galactic Council meeting, especially after we shared the video recordings." Gray looked at his tactical display, then at his trembling crew, and finally at the massive human ships that made his fleet look like a collection of toy boats. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "we could discuss those cookies you mentioned earlier." Admiral Stone's warm smile returned. "Now that's more like it. Would you prefer chocolate chip or snickerdoodle?" Commander Gray sat uncomfortably in the human ship's meeting room, staring at the strange brown liquid in his cup. Admiral Stone had called it coffee, and the sweet circular objects, cookies, sat untouched on the plate before him. "Your ships are impressive," Gray managed to say, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Oh, these old things." Stone smiled, dunking a cookie in his coffee. "They're just standard exploration vessels. Nothing special, really. Though I must say, your energy weapons are quite pretty." The crew really enjoyed the light show. At that moment, Captain Rogers walked into the meeting room, tablet in hand. "Admiral, you might want to see this. Our engineers did an analysis of their weapon systems." Stone looked at the tablet and chuckled. "Well, that's interesting. Commander Gray, would you like to know what your weapons actually hit when you fired at us?" Gray's antenna drooped slightly. "I suppose. Our garbage disposal shields," Rogers said, trying to hide his grin. "You know, the low power field we use to keep space debris from scratching the paint." The Imperial commander's face turned a pale shade of blue. "But those were our most powerful weapons." About that, Stone set down his coffee. "Our engineers have some concerns. Would you mind if they shared their findings? They're quite worried about your reactor designs." Before Gray could respond, the door opened again and a human in an engineering uniform walked in, carrying several holographic displays. "Commander Gray," the engineer began, "I'm Chief Engineer Taylor. We've been analyzing your ship's energy outputs. And well, you're running your reactors at dangerously low efficiency. It's honestly a miracle you can achieve any space travel at all." The engineer activated a hologram showing the Imperial ship's power systems. "See these plasma containment fields? They're losing almost 60% of their potential energy. And your matter-antimatter injection system, it's practically ancient. We haven't used that design since, what, the 22nd century? The 21st, actually," Rogers corrected. "I did a history paper on it in high school." Gray stared at the holographic displays, his mind struggling to process what he was hearing. "But our scientists said these were the most advanced designs possible." "Oh dear," Taylor said, genuinely concerned. "Have you not discovered quantum fold technology yet? Or zero-point energy tapping? What about basic vacuum energy extraction?" "Vacuum energy what?" Gray asked weakly. Admiral Stone placed a comforting hand on Gray's shoulder. "Don't feel bad. Every civilization develops at its own pace. We'd be happy to help upgrade your systems. It's actually a safety concern at this point. Those reactors of yours are one hiccup away from a very bad day." Just then, Gray's communicator buzzed. "Commander." First Officer Wilson's panicked voice came through. "High Command is demanding we take action. They're ordering us to ram the human vessels." Stone raised an eyebrow. "They want you to ram us? With those ships?" He turned to Taylor. "Chief, what would happen if they tried that?" The engineer did some quick calculations on his tablet. "Well, given their structural integrity and our shield strength, it would be like throwing a marshmallow at a brick wall. Though the marshmallow would probably do more damage." "Should we tell them that?" Rogers asked. "No need," Stone replied, watching Gray's expression. "I think the commander here has figured it out." Indeed, Gray was already sending a message back to his ship. "Belay that order. Immediately." "Wise choice," Stone nodded approvingly. "Now about those reactor upgrades. We could have a technical team start work tomorrow. And while they're at it, maybe we could help you with those engines too. Traveling at only twice the speed of light. That must make for some very long commutes." Gray looked up from his untouched coffee. "You mean, you'll help us, even after we try to attack you?" "Of course," Stone smiled warmly. "That's what friends do. Besides, someone needs to teach you how to build proper water parks in your ships. Those crews of yours look like they could use some fun." For the first time since the humans arrived, Commander Gray reached for a cookie. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't going to be such a bad first contact after all. 3 days after the initial contact, the Imperial High Command's diplomatic vessel arrived at the meeting point. The ship, decorated with golden symbols of the Empire's might, looked impressive, at least by Imperial standards. Ambassador Wells, a tall man with graying hair and an ever-present smile, watched it dock through the observation window of the human diplomatic lounge. "They really do love their decorations, don't they?" he commented to Admiral Stone, who stood beside him sipping his ever-present coffee. "It's actually quite charming," Stone replied. "Like watching a kindergarten art show." The Imperial delegation, led by Grand Diplomat Lord Martin, marched onto the human ship with all the ceremony they could muster. Their elaborate robes swept the floor, and their polished mandibles gleamed under the lights. Commander Gray, now serving as their guide, followed behind looking considerably more relaxed than he had days before. "Welcome to the explorer's dream," Ambassador Wells greeted them warmly. "We've prepared refreshments in the diplomatic lounge. I hope you don't mind, but we've taken the liberty of analyzing your biology to ensure all food and drinks are compatible with your system." Lord Martin's antenna twitched with surprise. "You managed to analyze our entire biological makeup in 3 days." "Oh no," Wells chuckled. "That took about 20 minutes. Our medical eye was quite fascinated by your unique digestive system. We spent most of the time trying to recreate your traditional dishes for your comfort." The Imperial delegation was led into a massive lounge with floor-to-ceiling windows showing the vast expanse of space. On one side, a holographic display showed real-time images of Earth and various human colonies. The Imperials stopped dead in their tracks. How many worlds do you have?" Lord Martin asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Oh, colonies." Wells waved his hand casually. "We stopped counting after the first few thousand. It's hard to keep track when you have faster-than-light communication lag. Some of our more adventurous settlers just go out and found new ones without bothering to file the paperwork first. Keeps our bureaucrats on their toes." Commander Gray, who had been enjoying his 3rd cup of coffee that day, leaned over to Lord Martin. "Wait until they show you their FTL drive technology. Apparently, our best ships are slower than their cargo haulers." "Speaking of technology," Stone interjected, "our engineering teams have finished their initial assessment of your fleet. We've prepared some upgrade proposals. Nothing too fancy, just enough to ensure your ships won't accidentally tear themselves apart during basic maneuvers." Lord Martin sank into one of the provided chairs, his elaborate robes crumpling slightly. "The Empire. We always thought we were the pinnacle of civilization. We've spent 10,000 years believing we were the most advanced species in the galaxy." 10,000 years is impressive," Wells said encouragingly. "It takes real dedication to maintain an empire that long. Of course, humanity got a bit restless after our first few centuries of space travel. Some folks just couldn't help pushing the boundaries of known physics." "How long?" Lord Martin asked. "How long has humanity been a spacefaring species?" "Well," Stone pretended to think, "if you count from our first crude chemical rockets, about 500 years. Give or take a few decades. We had a bit of a growth spurt after we figured out how to harness quantum fluctuations for energy production." The Imperial diplomats exchanged shocked looks. One of them dropped his datapad. "But that's not important right now," Wells said cheerfully. "What's important is cultural exchange. We've set up a temporary theater next door showing some of humanity's classic entertainment. We thought starting with 2001. A Space Odyssey might be a bit too on the nose, so we're showing The Princess Bride instead. We find it's a fantastic introduction to human humor." As if on cue, the smell of fresh popcorn wafted through the air. Lord Martin looked at Commander Gray, who nodded enthusiastically. "Trust me, my lord," Gray said, reaching for another cookie. "You're going to want to try the popcorn. And just wait until they tell you about something called movie night. It's going to change everything we thought we knew about space travel." 1 week into the cultural exchange, Lord Martin found himself in what the humans called a historical archive room. The space was filled with holographic displays showing Earth's history. Admiral Stone and Ambassador Wells stood beside him, watching as his mandibles twitched with increasing concern. "Let me understand this correctly," Lord Martin said slowly, staring at a World War IR display. Your species fought not one, but two global wars, with primitive atomic weapons. Oh yes, Wells nodded. Those were just the big ones. We had quite a few smaller conflicts too. Rather embarrassing chapter in our history, really. The display shifted to show various natural disasters. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes. Lord Martin's antenna drooped. And your homeworld, it regularly tries to kill you. Earth? Stone chuckled. She's actually quite mild compared to some of our colony worlds. You should see the storms on New Tasmania. Now those are exciting. Commander Gray, who had become something of a student of human history, added helpfully, "Wait until they show you the Australian wildlife archives, my lord." I didn't sleep for 2 days after seeing those. The display changed again, showing early human space exploration. Lord Martin watched in horror as primitive rockets exploded on launch pads. "You mean you kept going back, even after these disasters?" he asked. "Of course," Stone beamed. "Each failure taught us something new. Though I must admit, watching those old rockets is like seeing a child's science project now. Absolutely adorable." But, Lord Martin struggled to find words. "Your species survived all this. The wars, the disasters, the dangerous wildlife, the failed space programs. Don't forget the internet," Gray added, having learned about that particular human invention the day before. "They survived that too." Wells laughed. "We didn't just survive, we thrived. Nothing brings humans together like a good challenge. Every obstacle just made us more determined." The holographic display shifted one final time, showing Earth's current status, a pristine world with massive space elevators reaching into the sky, orbital rings gleaming in the sunlight, and vast cities that worked in harmony with nature. "This is impossible," one of the Imperial scientists whispered. "No species could advance this quickly." "Actually," Stone said, pulling out his datapad, "we were a bit slow in some areas. Took us nearly 50 years to crack efficient fusion power. Our friends from the Centauri systems still tease us about that." Lord Martin turned to face the humans. "When we first encountered your ships, we thought we were dealing with primitives. Then we learned of your technological superiority, and we feared you might be conquerors." He paused. "But now I understand something far more important." "Oh," Wells raised an eyebrow. "You're all completely insane," Lord Martin stated flatly. "Your entire species is mad. You treat deadly dangers as minor inconveniences. You view catastrophic failures as learning experiences. You colonize worlds that should be impossible to inhabit." "We prefer the term adventurous," Stone grinned. "Though my grandmother did always say there's a fine line between bravery and insanity. Speaking of which, would you like to see our deep space exploration footage? We got some fascinating recordings from inside black holes." Lord Martin's face turned a pale shade of blue. You sent ships into black holes. On purpose?" "Well, we had to know what was inside," Wells shrugged. "Scientific curiosity and all that. Lost a few probe ships, but the data was worth it. Would you like to see the readings?" Commander Gray, now quite used to human revelations, patted his superior on the shoulder. "My lord, I suggest we adjourn to the recreation deck. I've discovered something humans call a hot tub. It's remarkably good for processing shocking information." As they led the stunned Imperial delegation out, Stone turned to Wells. "Maybe we should wait until tomorrow to show them the deep-sea exploration archives." "Probably wise," Wells agreed. "Let them process the space stuff first. Though I do think they'll love the giant squid footage." Behind them, Lord Martin could be heard muttering, "A species that evolved on a death world. Of course they'd think black holes are interesting." 2 weeks after the initial contact, the Imperial High Council arranged a special session aboard their ceremonial space station. The massive chamber, designed to intimidate visiting diplomats, seemed somehow less impressive now that everyone had seen human ships. The Emperor himself, Lord Thomas, sat upon his golden throne, looking down at the human delegation. Admiral Stone stood casually at the podium, sipping from his ever-present coffee mug that read, "Universe's okayest explorer." After careful consideration, the Emperor announced, his voice echoing through the chamber, "The Empire has decided to offer you a most generous opportunity. We will allow humanity to join our empire as a protected species." There was a moment of silence. Then Admiral Stone coughed politely. "That's very kind of you," he said, trying to hide his smile. "But I think there might be a small misunderstanding here, Ambassador Wells." Wells stepped forward, holding a small data cube. "Perhaps it would be helpful if I shared some numbers with the Council." He activated the cube, and a hologram filled the chamber. "This is a real-time map of human-controlled space." The Imperial Council watched in growing silence as the map expanded, and expanded, and kept expanding. Their territory, marked in red, looked like a tiny dot compared to the vast, blue expanse of human space. "As you can see," Wells continued cheerfully, "we currently oversee approximately 15% of the Milky Way, with colonial expeditions ongoing in several neighboring galaxies. Our economy spans roughly 12,000 inhabited worlds, with another 20,000 in various stages of development." Emperor Thomas's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. But we are offering you our protection. And we appreciate the gesture," Stone said diplomatically. "But perhaps we could offer an alternative proposal." He pulled out his own data cube. "Our engineers have finished their assessment of your technology. We'd like to offer the Empire a comprehensive upgrade package." Commander Gray, now serving as a cultural advisor to both sides, stepped forward. "My Emperor, I strongly suggest we listen to their offer. Just last week they showed me something called a matter replicator. It makes cookies appear out of thin air. The Empire does not need charity," one of the council members declared. "Oh, it's not charity," Wells assured them. "Think of it as an investment in future trading partners. Besides, we're quite concerned about those reactor designs of yours. Our safety inspectors haven't slept well since seeing them." Stone nodded seriously. "We're also prepared to offer membership in the Galactic Council, the actual one, not the one you thought you were running. There's a lovely civilization from the Andromeda Galaxy that's been looking for a dance partner for the annual diplomatic ball." The Emperor slumped slightly in his throne. "The Empire has ruled supreme for 10,000 years. We cannot simply accept help from friends," Wells suggested. "Learn new things, join a larger community. Why not? We did, and look how well it turned out for us. Besides," Stone added, "we have movie nights every Thursday. The Andromedans make amazing snacks, and the beings from the Triangulum Galaxy have invented something even better than popcorn." Commander Gray stepped closer to the throne. "My Emperor, if I may, I've spent 2 weeks studying human culture. They've shown me wonders beyond imagination. But more importantly, they've shown me kindness when they could have simply ignored us or worse." The Emperor looked around the chamber, at his concerned council members, at the vast map of human space still hovering above, and at Admiral Stone's friendly smile. Finally, he sighed. Perhaps the Empire could benefit from some new perspectives." "Excellent." Stone beamed. "Now, who would like to see the upgrades we've designed for your space station? We thought you might enjoy having a proper recreation deck. The anti-gravity volleyball court is particularly fun." As the council members began talking excitedly among themselves, Wells leaned over to Stone. "Should we tell them about the Dyson Sphere construction project we're planning in their sector?" "Let's save something for next week," Stone whispered back. "Besides, we still need to teach them how to use the matter replicators without getting too excited." Commander Gray ordered 50 batches of cookies yesterday. "In my defense," Gray said proudly, "I'm learning to dump them in coffee properly." 6 months after the first contact between humanity and the Imperial fleet, Commander Gray stood on the observation deck of his newly upgraded flagship. The crown of stars barely resembled its former self. Quantum engines hummed quietly where noisy fusion reactors once roared, and the crew quarters now featured actual entertainment facilities. Still admiring the view? Admiral Stone asked, joining him at the window. Just watching the construction, Gray replied, gesturing to where human engineering ships were installing a massive recreation deck on the Imperial capital station. The Emperor has become quite fond of water slides. They do have that effect on people, Stone chuckled. Though I heard he's more excited about the zero-gravity basketball court. Below them, Imperial citizens moved about their daily lives, but everything was different now. Matter replicators had eliminated food shortages overnight. Updated medical technology had cured diseases that had plagued their species for generations. And perhaps most importantly, every ship now had proper coffee machines. You know, Gray said thoughtfully, 6 months ago, I was ready to order my fleet to attack your ships. And now I'm teaching my nephew how to swim so he can use the water park. Life is strange. Their conversation was interrupted by Ambassador Wells, who hurried onto the observation deck with an excited expression. You won't believe what just happened at the Galactic Council meeting. The Empire's application was approved. Stone asked. Better. The Andromedans were so impressed by how quickly the Empire adapted to modern technology that they want to establish a cultural exchange program. Apparently, Imperial cuisine is becoming quite popular in the Andromeda galaxy. Gray's mandibles clicked with pride. Our chefs have been experimenting with the matter replicators. They've created some interesting fusions of traditional Imperial dishes with human recipes. Speaking of fusion, Stone added, how are your people handling the physics education programs? Remarkably well, Gray replied. Though we had to calm down one of our senior scientists when he learned about quantum tunneling, he spent 3 days in the hot tub processing that information. The observation deck's door slid open again, and Captain Rogers entered, carrying a tablet. Monthly progress report, he announced cheerfully. The Empire's technological integration is ahead of schedule. Though we might need to have a talk about their enthusiasm for matter replicators. Someone tried to replicate an entire beach inside their apartment. That was actually my cousin, Gray admitted. He got a bit excited after watching something called beach party movies in the digital archives. Wells laughed. At least he's being creative. The Galactic Council loves that sort of enthusiasm. By the way, has anyone told the Emperor about the planned field trip to Earth? Not yet, Stone replied. We thought we'd wait until after he finishes his swimming lessons. Baby steps. Gray nodded sagely. A wise choice. He's still recovering from learning about Earth's active volcanoes. The concept of plate tectonics was quite shocking to him. Speaking of Earth, Rogers interjected. The first group of Imperial exchange students arrived there yesterday. Apparently, they're fascinated by something called roller coasters. Should we warn them about theme parks? Wells asked. Let them discover that joy on their own. Stone grinned. Just like we let Gray here discover video games. I maintain that Mario Kart is a perfectly legitimate use of my off-duty time, Gray said with dignity. Besides, I'm getting quite good at it. As they talked, a massive human exploration vessel passed by the window, its quantum drives leaving a beautiful trail of distorted spacetime. Gray watched it with a mixture of awe and affection. You know what the funny thing is? He said softly. 6 months ago, we thought we were the most advanced civilization in space. We were so proud, so certain of our superiority. And now? Stone asked. Now we know we're not superior at all. And it's the best thing that ever happened to us. Though I still can't believe you humans explored black holes for fun. Oh, that reminds me. Wells perked up. The Emperor approved the joint black hole research expedition. He wants to see what all the fuss is about. Gray shook his head, smiling. Well, as you humans say, if you can't beat them, join them. Even if they are completely insane. We prefer adventurous. Stone, Wells, and Rogers said in unison. And somewhere in the distance, another Imperial scientist discovered roller coasters for the first time.